Hi cutie patooties, this is Long White Mane here, and if you can grow your hair down to your butt, you'll never have a bad hair day. How are you doing? I hope everything in your life is going well. Um, as you can see, today's video is about Tila Tequila and her uh, truly bizarre rants and accusations, and uh, she's just gone off the rails. And what I want you all to do is to pull back your anger and pull back your laughter. Just remove your judgment for a few minutes. All right. What I want you to do is look at Tila as a person, not as somebody who is spreading religious hatred or insulting you. Just hold on. Okay. Let me explain something um, that I see, that I just wish you guys could see as well. My personal belief is that Tila um, is going through a psychotic break because she has untreated schizophrenia. How do I feel? How do I develop this opinion? All right, well, let's just look at it. No, I'm not a doctor. No, I'm not a nurse. But I am a mental health advocate. I've been homeless. I've worked with the homeless to get help for their own symptoms. I've come across so many schizophrenics on the street, I can't even begin to tell you. Um, Schizophrenia is a horrible mental illness. So many of these guys, people, not only guys, but so many of these folks, they'll get on medication, they'll be doing fine, and then so many of them just stop. It's rampant. They're notorious for um, stopping their meds, okay? And I have an idea that Tila has been under medication for a very long time and just stopped her meds for a long while, okay? Um, so what I see breaks my heart. I'm a different kind of person. I'm not excusing what she says. I'm just telling you this is the reason she's acting out and acting as badly as she is. Schizophrenia has three basic core symptoms. There's positive symptoms, negative symptoms, and cognitive symptoms. Um, Positive and negative don't mean good or bad in this way, or the ends of a magnet, and I'll explain. Um, People with positive symptoms are acting in a way that's not normal for humans, okay? These poor folks, they're actually hearing voices, or they're seeing visual hallucinations that they may take as a sign, or they're actually seeing and hearing these things. And one of the worst cases is when you are in the throes of this, you're hearing both. Okay, it's also quite dangerous, and because a lot of these folks in positive symptom camp, they may take a Bible verse pretty seriously, like that one where it's an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. They've been known to pull out their own eye, or they've been known to pull out someone else's eye. Okay, so these people are dangerous. They need treatment, and it's not funny, and I just don't understand the laughter. Um, they also have thought disorders, and their thinking is just so dysfunctional. They're just totally, disconnected from reality. They're truly insane. Most men think they're some sort of saint or a prophet, Jesus, God. Uh, Tila certainly believes she's God. She certainly said so. She believes she's a messenger of God, and she believes she's Mrs. Whitaker. I don't know where that came from, but there you go. And I also noticed on one of her clips that I watched on Nosy Hausfrau's website channel, in the clip, you couldn't really see a whole lot because Tila had this white kind of thing going on the video, but I did notice her movement was just so agitated, and it just really horseshoes, or not horseshoes, what am I trying to say, kind of fits hand in glove with the positive symptoms, because agitated body movements, they just can't settle down. You can't get them to sit down for any length of time. And so often, the hallucinations, the delusions, it lands these people in hospitals, faster than anything, because they're disturbing the public. uh, they're causing all kind of ruckus. And what I find very sad is that, as famous as Tila is, even though she's hasn't been very relevant for the last few years, as famous as she is, she's got no one around her who cares enough to get her into treatment. Think about that. You know, she's probably got people all around her. I'm sure she does. Famous people do, and not one of them cares enough to get her to a hospital. How would you feel? You know, people that don't care about you at all. Okay. Negative symptoms, I won't spend too much time on because obviously we're not talking about that. Um, Basically, negative symptoms. Oh, BB went bye-bye. All right, anyway, uh, negative symptoms. Basically, the doctors say that they have what is called a flat affect. There's not a whole lot of expression in the face. The voice is usually monotone. Um, they're not emotional at all. They're just kind of numb. Think of it as depression on steroids. All right, and like clinical depression, they don't take pleasure in their everyday activities. Like, if someone liked to cook and it was really a thing with them, they're not cooking anymore. If the person happens to be an artist, they're not creating anything anymore. They have difficulty beginning or sustaining any kind of activity, and they don't talk a whole lot. You may ask them a point blank question and they choose not to answer or talk at all. Okay, so the third one is the cognitive symptoms. Basically, they have trouble thinking. They can't make any kind of informed decision. They can't focus. They can't pay attention, which goes in with the agitated moving. Problems with working memory. They can't hold anything in their head for longer than 2 or 3 seconds. You can give them instructions on a task, set them down to the task, and they've already forgotten what they were supposed to do. So those cognitive symptoms play in with both negative and positive. And the weird thing is, patients will notice changes in their thinking or their memory, and they'll know that some of these cognitive symptoms are coming on. But a lot of times they don't go to their doctor. They just let everything go. All right. Now, I want to focus on Tila's claims of being God, messenger of God, that whole thing. The psychiatrists actually have a term for that. It's called religiosity, or it's called religious preoccupation. And it was first recognized in the 19th century when psychiatry was kind of still in its infancy. And I shudder to think how they treated these people, the cold water baths and all these nutty things, they did to these people. But at any rate, now I got to tell you, the interesting thing about this religiosity is that it's cultural. And what'll happen is, if that person is an Asian Indian, say, and they are familiar with the Hindu religious framework, their religiosity will center on Hinduism. If they're a Muslim, it'll center on Islam. If they're Jewish, it'll center there. You get what I'm saying. So because Tia has probably been most exposed to the Christian church, that's why her religiosity kind of focuses on that. And so, yeah, you get two flavors it's either a good entity or a bad entity that's talking to them or that they see. Usually, the thing about women is usually they'll say that they're pregnant with the Messiah, so I'm kind of waiting for Tila to come out with that. But men believe they're saints, they're a prophet, Jesus, God, Moses, and sadly, psychiatrists have a joke about, two schizophrenics coming into the same hospital and they both believe they're God and start arguing about it. Who's God, who isn't? And sadly, it does do they do the flip side. For example, a schizophrenic may believe that they've committed some unforgivable sin and they're sent straight to hell, and they wind up in the throes of the negative symptoms. They just so despondent over it. And it gets really, really bad because they believe these auditory hallucinations and the visual hallucinations are real. So they may think they've got a whole bunch of demons around them and the demons are prodding them, you know, or doing other terrible things. I've heard of them believing that there's a witch's coven after them, and the witches are going to curse them. So they may do, you know, magical things, you know, like they have to set their things on their dresser a certain way to prevent from getting cursed, things like that. And the worst part of it is sometimes they even think they're possessed by a devil. And I got to tell you, I do believe people can be possessed, but I believe it's exceedingly rare. The Vatican would probably disagree with me, but in my personal world, from what I've read and what I've done, Long White Mane's opinion is that you have a better chance of finding a four-leaf clover in a field than you do actually finding a truly possessed person. Now, there have been studies on schizophrenics, and these studies show that, you know, about half of our schizophrenics, when they get into that psychotic break, half of them are actually into that religiosity. All right. So, you know, just know that Tila is ill. She's not, you know, I'm not excusing her behavior. Like I said, I'm telling you the reason for it. So if you choose still to be upset with her, if you choose still to be angry with her, you choose to laugh at her, that's all on you. I'm glad you gave me your time and attention to this. And, you know, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'm also going to put a list of people that are very successful, even though they've been diagnosed with schizophrenia. And hopefully that'll give some people some hope, because it's just so important. Oh, one last thing. If in fact you find yourself connected in some way with a schizophrenic, they wind up in the hospital, please know that the doctor can only put a life picture of that person together so much, because that schizophrenic can only tell them so much. They're not thinking. They're disconnected from reality. So any help that family or friends can give that doctor, to give that doctor a huge picture of that person's life when he's in remission from his schizophrenic symptoms, is just so valuable, because the more the doctor knows about the person, the more he can help out, and the more, you know, what kind of therapy to give the person, the kind of medication that's required, that kind of thing. If, like I said, if you find yourself connected to someone who's a schizophrenic, and you're scared and you don't want to really, you know, get too close to it, if you have an idea that, you know, you may want to write an email to the doctor with your insights on that person, because if you write the email, you do it from home or work or wherever where you're safe, you're not around that person, and you can just say anything you need to say. All right, I'm sorry about that. I forgot to put that in there. You guys take care, and I just will see you on the flip side. Okay, bye.